did you have supporters, doubters? Did people think you were crazy? I mean, you're
Oh, yes.
established in this other, this other business, other career, other industry, and
Yeah.
now it's like, hey guys, I'm just going to go do real estate.
Yeah. Well, I'd gone from a W-2 paycheck guy, even when I was in sales and I was doing well, and I worked for that company, and my old company, Bennett Supply, was my customer. The way that I was paid, like 90+% of it was salary and the rest was bonus. So my pay was pretty consistent. I knew every 2 weeks I was getting that paycheck. I had, health benefits and a company car and all that stuff, and just said, the heck with it. It was, it absolutely. But I also think it was kind of the same thing. I went from, even though it was a steady paycheck, working in the warehouse, you punch a clock, you paid by the hour, you go home and you don't think about anything. To on Monday, being an independent sales guy that has to create my own schedule, that has to make my own appointments, that has to create and grow this business that I'm assigned, create business plan, like all of these things, like that was a new territory as well. So I kind of already, done a career shift, a career change. So
Yeah.
it was just a different type of career change. And I knew if I could do it back then, without much support, I mean, because I didn't have a whole lot of support doing that switch as I did, jumping into real estate.
I mean, just getting to listen to your story. I mean, we've known each other for, like I said, almost 2 years now, and got to know you real well just from the masterminds and things like. But just listening to, like, going to 7 different schools and moving and growing up, like, that probably played into you being able to make these types of decisions into your adult life, where you were, I wouldn't say comfortable with uncertainty, but you probably were a little comfortable with uncertainty, right? Because you've had that, repetition of that, from moving schools to schools to schools, going to
Absolutely.
college, not finishing, and all those other things.
And it's interesting. I've never connected those two dots, like in all
Yeah,
of my years. But you make a really great point. I'm sure that was a part of the reason why, even though I had some risks, some apprehension about these new
sure.
opportunities, but I've done that before, and I knew that if I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that absolutely played into all of these different things that I've done over the years as far as shifting gears.
Yeah, it's the well, we'll figure it out,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
um, so Ryan, what year did you end up getting your license?
2010,
Okay, 2010. Dive
bottom of the
into those
market.
first. Yeah, I mean, I got mine in 2011. So dive into those first couple years for you. I mean, you got in really to kind of help, Jackie and take
Mhm.
on her, business and past clients in her sphere. But can you dive into, what those first couple years were like, especially coming out of, '09, 2010, '08?
Well, I think everybody had to learn new skill sets in that market. One of the things that Jackie encouraged me to do was to go to every training that I could at the time. Um, I'm sure that you've heard of the bold training. It's 8 weeks
Yep.
long. It's really intensive. It gets you on the phones, all kinds of things. Jackie made the recommendation, and I jumped on board. I signed up for that as a non-licensed agent. I actually got licensed in week 4 or 5, and so I just, I was a transplant as well. I'd only been in this area for a few months, so I just
Oh,
started calling her people. I started calling the Chamber of Commerce. I just went down the list at the chamber and basically just said, hey, I'm looking for businesses that I can refer my clients to. Can I introduce myself? Can we have a conversation? And I did some of those things. The other thing that I did that to create my own identity was I really started working with investors. And I know a lot of people did that then, but what my niche was especially out of town, out of state, and even I had international clients. And so helping them to purchase properties in Akron. Akron actually was in the top couple cities in the country back then for rental properties, for investment properties, because you could buy a property for $8, $10, $12,000 and turn around and rent it for $700 or $800 and not have to put a whole lot of money into it. So my identity, I was trying to establish my own identity because, long term, I knew that she was going to come back and we were going to start selling together. And, two people selling out of the same database in the same sphere and just all of those things wasn't going to be sustainable. And because of what was happening in the market, I learned how to do creative financing. I did land contracts, like I said, international. And so I really was open to learning new things. And I think as we're seeing the market adjusting now, that's serving me well, learning and keeping an open mind to what's going on.
Yeah. I did investors too. Obviously, part of that was the time, but when I got into the business, Ryan, really my mentor, he had a REO foreclosure list that he was selling off for a bank. So, just naturally, you had the listing. Now go find the buyer client and you would attract those investors. But how did you get to the point of the out of state investors? Was it marketing specifically that way? I mean, obviously Facebook and all that wasn't what it is today.
Craigslist.
Yeah.
I did really well with Craigslist.
The good old days of Craigslist.
when you could post an ad with a link back to your website. When that was going, I created several accounts. I would post constantly. So I had a buyer that contacted me as a result of one of my ads from Switzerland. And I'm like, this guy has to be spam. This guy's from Switzerland. He's head of banking for this huge company. He's married to somebody named Natasha. He's got this square jaw. He looks like the part. And I Googled him 6 ways from Sunday. I ended up having some phone conversations, and he was legit. He ended up having, he had about 250 grand that he wanted to spend in Akron because of the amount of properties he could buy. And he already had a property manager here. And I ended up selling him a package of properties that I had, 4 properties. He bought all 4 properties for like 52 grand. He bought them on land contract to extend his money because that was my idea, so he could buy more properties. And ultimately ended up being a great client of mine. I had somebody in Las Vegas. I had somebody in California. I just went and took a look at his property because he's thinking about selling it. And it was just because once I had a little bit of success, I started creating things like flyers, like purchase the property for $18,000. Here's how much they put into it. Here's how much they're renting it for. Here's what their cash flow is. Just real simple. And I had lots of examples that I could show people.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I joke sometimes I miss those days.
Well, I like the fact that, on one hand, it's great being able to help somebody with their forever home and the emotions and the friendships and the connections that you make here. And I enjoy that part of it. There's a piece of me that also enjoys the non-emotional, the numbers either make sense or they don't, just going out, looking at property, sending it to the clients. Hey, do any of these make sense? Because I would just go preview the properties. I take pictures. I give you my opinion. And I'd send it out to 3 or 4 different investors. And oftentimes they would bite on it. I had a local person as well that I was doing that with. And it was kind of fun. Got to see a lot of inner city Akron. Got to know it pretty well. But, I think it really helped me to hone my craft, especially pricing. And that's something that right now is serving me well. As the market adjusts, pricing's always important. Probably 6 months ago, you could throw it up. If you missed by a little bit, you were fine.
Sure.
But now pricing is so important. And when you see more and more of these price decreases and homes sitting longer than they should be because they didn't price them right. I think that's the biggest skill that I think that I learned out of all of that.
And not only that.